Let's think about the normal development of the sensory system. The first part of sensory processing is registering a sensation. This is the most basic stage. It involves detecting information either from inside your own body, like pain or hunger or feeling uncomfortable, or detecting some information from outside of the body, from the environment, like a noise of a siren or the smell of some food cooking. Once you've detected that information, you have to be able to do something with it. So that might mean that you filter it out because it's not important, and you can maintain attention to what is important. And it might also be being able to cope when that sensation changes. So a room starts to get warmer and your body heats up, or the smell of a cooking dinner gets more intense. Sensory modulation is that ability to cope with the changing sensations around us. Within that, we have to learn to habituate. That's having an initial awareness of a sensation which we then learn to screen out. For example, when you buy a new alarm clock, the first night you put it by the side of your bed and you can't sleep all night because of the loud ticking in your ear. You don't think you're ever going to be able to cope with that new alarm clock. But by the end of the week, your brain will have learnt to habituate to that ticking sound, filtering it out, so that by the end of that week, you can sleep right through without noticing it. There are other sensations that we should always be sensitive to. They're the things that put us on high alert, raise our arousal levels and keep us safe. And the kind of things we're talking about are the smell of smoke or the crying of a baby. We should never habituate to those things. They should always put us on high alert, wake us up from sleep, or make us want to get up and do something. To learn and function, which is what all of our children are all about, we need to be in the right state of arousal. In the sensory world, that's known as the calm alert state. It's that ability to be focused, concentrating, engaged in an activity without being over-aroused, overexcited or too anxious, and without being under-aroused, bored, disengaged, not paying attention. In order to stay in the calm alert state, we have to do something called self-regulation. That's the activities and the things that we do to keep us in that calm alert state. This graph depicts the normal arousal levels that we might experience throughout a normal day. So at the beginning of the graph, you can see that our arousal levels might be quite low when we get up in the morning. We might need a coffee or a cold shower to wake us up a bit. As the day goes on, different things will occur that will send our arousal levels up or down. For example, you have a really stressful morning with the kids. There's something going on at work that you're worried about that day. The weather's bad. There's a traffic jam on the way to school. And by the time you drop the kids off, your arousal levels are really high. You're really stressed. But then you get to work, things calm down, that thing you were worrying about goes well, and your arousal levels come down again. Sometimes it's more to do with our internal feelings. For example, when we're really tired, our arousal levels are lower. You might feel quite sleepy after lunch in that sort of slump time. Or equally, if you're in pain or you're really anxious about something, your arousal levels will go up. So it's normal for them to go up and down throughout the day, as long as they stay within a normal range. Lots of children who have autism spectrum disorder or other learning difficulties tend to find it difficult to stay in a normal state of arousal. Their arousal levels either go too high when they're really stressed and anxious, or they drop too low when they can't engage, can't get going, can't be with you and enjoying what's going on. So how do we keep our arousal levels in that normal state? Well, we have to learn to do it. We're not born knowing how to self-regulate. It would be great if we were. It would make looking after a baby really easy. but unfortunately we're not. So have a think back to when your child was a baby, or the best way to think about this, I think, is when someone goes on maternity leave from your work and they come back in with their baby and want to hand it round the staff room, and you get handed the baby, and while you've got that baby, you really don't want it to cry. So what sort of things do you do while you're holding the baby to stop it from getting upset and crying? The first thing I always do is hold a baby close to me. I would never hold them away at arm's length. And then I would probably start to do the whole bounce and pat thing. You might start rocking from side to side, patting their back. You might even start pacing around the room a little bit. Sometimes babies respond well to being swung in your arms. And then you might get to a point where your arms are getting tired and you want to put them down, so you put them into the buggy or into a bouncer. But you will naturally keep that buggy moving or keep the bouncer going up and down because you know that's going to keep the baby calm. Some people find they need to swaddle a baby to help them calm down, and although the Back to Sleep campaign tells us that we should put a baby to bed on their back with one blanket, some children just really need a tight hug with a blanket or a muslin to help them calm down, and you may have had to do this with your own child. Sometimes a dummy or sucking on a finger is the only thing that will calm a baby down, or even feeding them. If you think about these things that we do to calm a baby, wrapping them tightly, holding them close, bouncing them up and down and rocking them, you need to then think about which senses are we affecting when we do that. When we wrap a baby tightly or hold them closely, and when we pat them firmly, we're affecting their proprioceptive feedback. We're giving them a big squeeze to say this is where your body is in space, and we know it's really calming. When we rock a baby or bounce them up and down, we generally do it in a very rhythmical way in straight lines. That's affecting their vestibular system. If you think back to the bottle of water, we're literally swishing the fluid backwards and forwards in a straight line, and that is also very calming. Now you might think that feeding or sucking on a dummy is all to do with taste or smell, but actually that's also very proprioceptive, because when you suck hard on something, you use the muscles around your face and in your mouth, which sends proprioceptive feedback up to the brain and calms it down. If we move on to thinking about a toddler, there are certain things a toddler will come for when they're upset and need help to calm down. That might be a cuddle on a parent's knee. It might be that they want a dummy or they suck their own thumb. There'll also be things that they know calm them down, like a favourite teddy or a blankie. And there are certain things they'll be able to do for themselves. Sometimes you'll see toddlers sitting, rocking themselves to calm themselves down. There's a mixture of things going on in terms of their sensory processing when we think about how a toddler self-calms. The being held and being snuggled, for example, is very proprioceptive. We know that helps to calm the system down. The rocking is very vestibular. That's also very calming. But the favourite toy or the favourite teddy or that particular blankie that smells in a certain way is actually a behavioural way that a child has learnt to calm down. It will have stemmed from a first instance when the teddy was used in a lovely calm situation and that child felt safe and felt happy. And in the brain, a part of the brain called the amygdala associates that toy, that teddy, that favourite blankie with feeling calm. Once that connection's been made, it becomes very strong, so that you only have to show the toddler the teddy or the blankie again, and immediately they link that sensation of feeling calm in the brain and the child will settle down. It's not a sensory processing issue, it's a behavioural issue. So talking of behaviours, think about what you do when you've had a really busy, stressful day and you get home and you want to calm and chill out. The first thing lots of us will do is get changed out of the clothes we've been wearing, perhaps for work, into something really soft and comfy. Most parents tell me that they like to get into their pyjamas fairly early on after a stressful day at work. This is because when you're feeling stressed and anxious, your tactile system is much more sensitive than when you're feeling calm. So the things that you put on in the morning that have got a waistband, a seam, a label, an itchy collar, a bit of lace here or there, those things, when you're stressed and you're anxious, start to become real irritants to us. And so when we really want to feel more relaxed, we want to get those off. For any of you who have a child who chooses to strip off when they're stressed, you only need to think about why you want to get changed into something softer to understand why your child might be doing that. The thing is that you understand where it's appropriate to get changed into your PJs. Your child probably doesn't have the social understanding to know that it's not okay to strip off in the middle of Tesco's. But that's the only difference. They're just showing you that they're stressed, their tactile system is oversensitive and they can't cope with these clothes any longer. There will be lots of other things that you do to calm yourself down and chill out. Some of you will choose a glass of wine, chocolate, a favourite TV programme, a read. Some of you might choose to do some exercise, go for a run, go for a swim, walk the dog. And some of you may find a massage really calming. But you will all be very different and all have your own sensory preferences. Some of you will have balked at the idea of doing exercise to calm down, and some of you will be squirming in your seat thinking about a massage. Exercise and massage are both highly proprioceptive. They're probably some of the most proprioceptive things we can do to calm down. But they don't all work for all of us. It's important to think about why that is. If you consider exercise, it's completely under your control. You can choose where you go, when you go, how fast you go, how hard you go, which bits of your body you move and challenge. Whereas a massage is completely out of your control, other than the fact that you've chosen to let someone else do that. Once you're there on the massage table, the masseuse is the one in charge. They're going to dictate where their hands go, how hard, how soft they massage, and so on. And some of us can cope with that. We can tolerate having someone else in control of the sensations that our body feels. But not all of us can, and that's really normal. But it's really important to remember this concept when you're thinking about your child and why they will or won't tolerate certain sensations. It's highly likely that they need to have more control over the sensations that their body is going to experience in order for them to tolerate that. Lots of you will agree that your child can have the TV as loud as they want when they've got the remote control, but if somebody else makes lots of noise, they won't be able to tolerate it. Your child might be able to hug you as hard as they want to, whenever they want to, but if you try to hug them, they probably won't let you do it all the time. This is all about control. When we're in control of the experiences that our body, of the sensations that our body experiences, we have a much higher tolerance for them, and our children are no different. So when you're struggling with understanding why your child tolerates some things and not others, even though they seem to be the same sensation, always ask yourself who's in charge. And the more control your child has over a situation, the more they'll be able to tolerate the sensory experiences it brings.